Welcome to another episode of No Stupid Questions, where we answer the dumb, irrelevant, stupid questions that you have throughout the day that no one else has the guts to answer.
The questions that you were too lazy enough to Google yourself.
Exactly. So I guess we'll just go ahead and go right on into it there. Alex, I'm going to make you do the first one.
Oh, so you're going to pass it to me anyway. Nice. All right.
Base.
So I actually have a really interesting one that I'm going to go up first. I probably should save it for last, but fuck you. I'm going to do it anyway because I really like it. All right. So Videri. I'm going to go with Videri. Videri says, what separates oceans from each other? For example, the Arctic and the Atlantic touch each other, but they're still called two different oceans. So, I actually know that one. It's not too dissimilar than how we do land masses and countries. Like, obviously Russia's still connected to China, but you're still going to call this Russia, so you're going to call that China, right?
Because of the borders.
Borders, yeah. So, with the oceans are separated mostly by the land masses themselves. So, like, this chunk right here in between, like, what this and that is the Pacific, this over here is the Atlantic, this here is the Indian Ocean. You get the idea.
Do you mean it goes by which countries are touching it, or by, like, the plates at the bottom of the ocean, the plates of the Earth?
It's, from what I've gathered, from what I remember from when I was in, like, high school when I learned this, it's based on what countries they're touching. Because that's where the Indian Ocean's cut off. But, like, all oceans are connected together, because and all rivers technically lead to the ocean, like, eventually. Like, all water goes to, like, one fucking place. So, like, it is all one big, it's the ocean. 71% of the planet is just one big body of water, but it's separated in air quotes by, like, natural borders known as the continents and the countries and shit, and islands.
Yeah.
Also, fun fact, one little bit, the Mariana Trench is in the Pacific Ocean, aka where all your Dota games are.
Are Polynesian people in the Pacific?
I didn't look that part up, so I would assume so. He only asked the question, not where islanders live, Tad.
I only do the bare minimum amount of research.
Based.
That actually, I didn't know we were bringing up oceans. I had a quick question here for someone named Lava Nerd that I thought was funny, and I had no idea if I'd ever be able to say it. His question is it called sand because it's between sea and land?
Is it? It sounds like it.
Like, it's reasonable, right? It's reasonable.
If I was God, right? Well, I am God. But if I was a different God, and I was making the world, and I was like, what should I call this shit? Sea, land, sand. Excellent. And then just sprinkle sand everywhere.
Sea, land, sea, sand.
Sand's Undertale. In Smash, by the way.
In Smash, by the way, yes. Last episode we recorded, I think, an hour before the fucking direct came out. We were in the glorious pre-Sans and Smash timeline. Now we're in that dark world.
Alright, so I think I mentioned that I wanted an SNK character and I was happy. Like, literally, it could have been anybody, because SNK has nothing but great characters, and I'm happy for Terry. But I feel bad for Terry, because he got really outclassed really hard by a fucking meat costume. I showed you a bunch of the live reactions of, like, fans were like, yeah, woo, that's cool. And then Sans shows up and the crowd's like, whoa, Sans, holy shit. Everyone's freaking the fuck out. And, like, the fucking SpongeBob thing just, yay. And then Terry comes out and, like, no one cares.
With the SpongeBob where Squidward holds his arm out, no one.
Yeah.
Sans' mask. Woo, yeah. Terry.
I feel bad for Terry. He's cool, I'm glad he's in, but I feel bad.
I'm surprised that it took this long for Terry to get in if he was so important to Smash Bros.
I don't know, fuck you. I mean, up until just the last game, they didn't even have, like, a, quote, real fighting game character with Ryu, and then Canon and Ultimate, so it's actually, if it took Ryu that long, it makes sense Terry would take this long as well.
So I got another quick question here from Nicholas Morgan. Did Joe really take his dick out during the Chris Chan episode?
Okay, so Yeah, I'm guilty. I did not listen to the Chris Chan's episode because I didn't care. What happened?
It's in the fucking Alex. It's literally in the intro of every Let Me Tell You About episode.
Tad,
you just never heard it. Cool.
Tad,
Epic,
I have
thanks.
literally never actually listened to a single episode we have produced, and I mean this. I have in every single I'm in all the comments. I pause the video immediately and then just read the comments and answer people. I have never once listened to our own podcast because I make it. I was there. What would I ever need to listen to it again possibly do for me? Quote from guy who didn't realize his Final Fantasy tirade the first time wasn't put on the fucking air.
in the questions of the month episode, that was originally going to be part of a mega episode of this one, but then we just fucking split it. Alex went on a really long tirade that he just thought was in an episode that I never uploaded. So he's really attentive. But back to the question. Did Joe really take his dick out during the Chris Chan episode? Possibly. If you ask Tyler Am, it's a yes. Joe got up and went to the door and turned around and started messing with his pants. So I don't know. I didn't get a good look, and I didn't necessarily want to get a good look at Joe's penis. So I cannot confirm, but I'm going to lean towards probably yes. I think he probably got as far as the tidy whities. And then Tyler Am got home.
Nice. So it starts with the tidy whities and then goes to the teeny weeny. I'm really
very
funny.
Epic.
I'm very creative with my humor. Very attentive.
Oh yeah,
by
Mr.
the way.
Funny Man, Mr. Funny Creative Guy. Why don't you go ahead and do another question?
All right, I have two because one's really, really short, and this guy can go fuck himself. From Carlos Mitra, who can go fuck himself, by the way. Here's a stupid question for you. Am I stupid? Yes. Okay, so an actual question. I feel kind of cheap because I used this guy before, but this is actually a really interesting one, so I want to take it again anyway. From Aurora Borealis again. Why does everyone's house smell different even if they're constructed out of the same materials? So that's actually pretty obvious face value because, like, well, if I cooked a pizza in one house, it's going to smell like pizza in there as opposed to someone else's.
If I cook a pizza in my house, it must smell like pizza in everyone's house.
So it's pretty obvious of, like, what you put in your house is what it smells like, but there is an interesting thing that I can go off of this, and that's sort of the atmosphere in a house. Like, when you're in your own house, it feels like your house, right? When you go into someone else's house, it, like, feels like someone else's house, right? It has, like, this aura to it, almost. That is... I mean,
the place that I'm living in now, the first time I moved in, it was very, very bad. It was covered in garbage, and it smelled like shit. And I eventually got used to that smell, so now I don't even recognize it when I'm in the house. So, well, yeah. I mean, when you're living in a place, you're going to become acclimated and not recognize any weirdness about it after so long, you know?
Yeah, you become accustomed to it, and it kind of becomes like your body sort of adapts and acclimates to it, this is now your rest. This is now your place of, like, rest. This is your house. This is where you live, reside. That's what I'm looking for, reside. And when you go into someone else's house, it smells different, it feels different because this is not what your body is used to. Even if it's something as simple as you have literally the same house, but, like, they have
a cat.
Yeah, they have a cat. Or, like, their temperature is cooked up to, like, 80. They keep their fucking air conditioning off, right? Like, you can feel that it's different in there the minute you step in. It's just sort of like your natural human instincts of how you adapt. It's really cool. And there's, like, a bunch of science behind it that I don't understand because I'm not a fucking brain guy. Because brains are really complicated. Like, people don't even know how brains work even now after thousands of fucking years. But it's just part of your natural, like, instinct. It's super cool.
Speaking of houses, I have this question here from the anonymous Mr. Grape. Let's say you're designing a medieval castle, circa 1300, and you know that eventually you're going to get besieged. What is the ideal location for holding off an approaching army, and why?
Ooh, I actually know that. That's actually really
So my initial thoughts before you actually talk about castles, because I got a feeling you know more than I do. I'd put it on a cliff so I can only get attacked from one direction. But that also might be literally the worst idea possible because I can only flee in one direction towards the enemies. So also, I mean, okay. If I put my thing on a cliff, I could just, like, yeet all like the shit, because like there's not plumbing in a castle. You just poop in a bucket, and I just throw the bucket, like I empty it out into the ocean or whatever's underneath there. You know, whatever's under the cliffside. Because I mean, think about it. In a castle, how do you get rid of all the shit? Does it just go underground? You just pretend it's not there? Do you just cover it up and like dig another hole 15 feet away?
I actually know the answer to most of these questions, but I forget the exact name of the castle. It'll probably come to me as I'm talking, but I'm very interested to answer this. Okay, so I want to say it was in like not Jerusalem, but just like outside, because Jerusalem's the city. It was like just outside of Jerusalem. It was this. It was in the desert in like fucking the Middle East. It was this fort that was positioned way up on a mountain with only one direction to go up and down it. So, you are actually completely in the right idea. So this besiege lasted a long... Besieging a castle like a fortress city or whatever, takes months. Because what you're basically doing with a besiege is it's not like a movie where you're fucking flinging catapults and like storming the place. You basically just surround the place and just kind of wait them out. You're starving them out because they have to go out to go get food. There's only so much in the city for all those people, so you just sit there and you just wait, and if people try to get out, then you fucking, like, stab them with your spears. And sometimes you, like, throw people in there to make sure that, like, no one's, like, sneaking by getting supplies. That's what an actual, like, siege is, you know? So, a fun thing about, there's this one fort in, I want to say France, that these guys, it was during the Crusades, that they were on their way down to the Middle East to go fuck everything over because the Crusades were just that way. These guys are like, yeah, Crusades! They took over this fucking fort, and they're like, nah, we took your fort. And so the actual main army came to relieve the fort back. They looked at the fort, and they looked over to the right. The well was outside of the fort. So, they just surrounded the fort and the well, and they just sat there for 1 week, and the fort surrendered. Because they couldn't do it. Literally nothing they could do. Artificial difficulty. The people in that fort were starving and thirsty. Because you can go a while without food. You can only go a few days without water. Especially back then when it was hot. There was no air conditioning. You would sweat more. You needed water more. So like there was the water reserves in the fort tapped out. They started drinking their own piss. They started drinking animal blood, and they just gave up because they just couldn't do it anymore. Because like they've got the water, like they can just sit there. They can sit there for months. They got fucked. So anyway, back to the Jerusalem fort, the Middle East fort. So this fort's up on this really big cliff with this one incline to get up there. But what's nice about this fort is it's big. It's this big mountain, like it's like a plateau or whatever. This big open space. So they actually had farming equipment up there. So they were able to self-sustain up there, even in a siege. That was the critical part of what made this fort so fucking powerful.
Not only do you have the defense, but you the one downside to a fort.
Yep.
Makes sense.
Yeah, the only thing I could really think of was probably water, but I didn't explain when I was watching the video where they got their water from. I'm imagining they just drank piss at one point, just like the other guys. But anyway, so you had this borderline self-sufficient fucking just big mega fort city up there in this mountain. And these guys are like, I think it was Rome, was pissed off at the Jews because everyone was pissed off at the Jewish population at some point in time. And was just beating the shit out of them. And yeah, that's it, yeah. So it was this big revolt. And so all the rebels went up into that fucking fort to say fuck you, Rome, and fuck you, whatever. And the Romans are like, well, fuck you, we'll besiege this place. And so they surround the fucking the mountain. They go up the thing and they stake them out. But it's taking so long. Like, what's going on? And they're like, haha, fuck you guys. We've got farms up here. We can literally hold out forever. So they have natural defense, fortress defense, time, and they don't have weapons, but you got a big castle wall, and you can just keep throwing shit at them. Like, they can't get up there, because they only have one direction. Even if you have 1 million guys, if they're going through a fucking bottleneck, you can just kind of mow them down, you know? It's a meat grinder, as it's called.
Just throw a bunch of big rocks at them.
So what the Romans did to beat them is actually really fucking cool. They just dug up so much fucking dirt that they made their own bigger cliff. They made the one direction wider by just dumping mountains of dirt to make a fucking hill and then just storm the fucking place. Obviously, this took a long time, but, Romans were obviously better equipped so they could defend the fucking peasants who were just dumping on dirt. And now, that's what you brought up, they couldn't escape once they saw the inevitability of all that dirt piling up, because there's only one direction on that mountain. So their greatest defense became their greatest fucking fault, and then eventually they got all fucking slaughtered.
Okay, I mean that's a good ending, I guess.
Yeah, and because the Romans eventually just got enough dirt on there. If someone remembers the exact fort that this was in, I would really appreciate that, because I'm forgetting the name off the top of my head. But I know it was super fucking cool. And another thing, I really want to bring this up of another fort thing, because the Romans were really cool. If I go on another tiny bit of history, this was during the Gallic era, where like Romans were fighting the Gauls all the fucking time.
Yeah,
and the Gauls were basically barbarians. Obviously they weren't like stupid, but like the barbarian aesthetic that we know with like the teeth and like the fur coats and shit, that's basically from the Gauls. It's from all like the nomadic Gaul people. So there was this one point where the Romans were fighting them once again, and they're hit and run bullshit with the Gauls, and they cornered this fort which has all the supplies for the Gauls in. And they really want to get rid of that, because that's how all the fucking Gauls are supplying themselves and keeping themselves fed for all this army. Because a lot of things with the old military days is, it's not this epic battle like I mentioned earlier with like Lord of the Rings and shit. A lot of it was just pure strategy of cutting people off from the supplies, like the well. This is where the Gauls are getting all their food. Well, let's just take it. Like, now we can just wait them out. Like, we have all the fucking grain. They'll just starve and die. We don't have to waste our fucking manpower anymore. Because a lot of people back then actually liked fighting. It's not like everyone was like, despite what fucking losers on the internet might say, no, people didn't like being warriors. Most combat would end in what is called a rout. When one side got an advantage, the losing side basically just panicked and ran away. That was majority of fighting. With medieval weapons like that, which is why you either let them go, captured them, or you butchered them. Most of the people that were captured were turned into slaves, and that was how it worked pretty much everywhere in the fucking world. So anyway, they go to this Gaul fort city, and they're like, fuck you, you're not getting past our walls. And the Roman, and I think it was actually Caesar was still around during this. Caesar was there. He's like, fuck you, I am. And so they start to build a fucking ramp to go over the wall.
Just like the dirt wall.
Yeah, just like the fucking dirt mound thing. But they don't have dirt. They just get a bunch of fucking wood, because when you have an army, you don't just have the military guys. You also have like supply carts, peasants, and like workers for shit like this, for building siege weapons on the fly. So they just start fucking chopping down fucking trees, sanding them down, and just start building a big fucking ramp. And the Gauls are like, no, fuck you! And they get like fucking torches to try to like burn the shit, and they're fighting. Not really fighting the wall, they're fighting over this fucking ramp. The Gauls are trying to stop the fucking ramp from being built, and the Romans are like, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, and just keep fucking repairing the fucking ramp at like hyperspeed.
It's like how it's like how in Team Fortress 2, if you have a bunch of people attacking your sentry, you just have 3 engineers all hitting it at once.
Well, it's like fucking, it's prehistoric. It's BC Fortnite. I'm just building fucking buildings as people are trying to shoot them down. Just like build
zoom,
wall,
zoom,
shoot.
Zoom, play Rock Knight.
They're just, you have the fucking, a bunch of the Roman soldiers who aren't building, just doing like the fucking Fortnite dance and floss. As like fucking the peons are just fucking like, just hit like fucking hammers on the fucking like, on the wood. As like, the Gauls are just like banging fucking sticks on the other half of the ramp.
Yeah, the Legionnaire doing the take the L dance.
Yeah. And so, but what happened is, fucking, another thing about medieval, or not even medieval, just ancient, like, warfare, weather was huge. Actually, weather was still a big thing in modern warfare up until, like, the World Wars. It was just pouring rain. So the ground got all fucking muddy, and the thing was sinking. So, they're just like, and they're like, Caesar, what do we do? It's sinking. He said, make it taller. And so they just kept building more onto the fucking ramp. And it's so funny to me, because I'm just picturing all these Romans as it's like slowly sinking to the ground, just going, just like putting like a cartoon, like putting wood, banging like 2 nails, putting wood, banging like 2 nails. Really like fast.
The scene where they were repairing SpongeBob's house and Patrick's building the fucking, yeah.
And he's got the thing in his fucking head, just, yeah. That's what I imagined. And so eventually they did build it, and they got over and fucking killed the fuck out of all of them. Like, because Romans just do what Romans do. Watching medieval like warfare is super fucking interesting. I would love to actually talk about it, but I want to get to the rest of these questions. So that was your question, right?
Yes, but I have one more. Do you have? Because I've got a big one here. I've got a big, very important one, but I kind of want to save it for last.
Okay, so I have a couple of little ones as well as a kind of introspective one. So I'm gonna get right into it. So from console right line, quick question: who killed Jeffrey Epstein? Oh,
you know what killed Jeffrey Epstein? He loved too much. I saw a mug that said "the brightest stars burn the brightest," and then it had a picture of Jeffrey Epstein on it. It had born, whatever date, died. Haha, just kidding.
Oh, yikes. Just my answer. Oh, Next question.
That's fine. Jeffrey Epstein got away with everything. Everyone connected to him is going to get away without having any repercussions, and the child fuck airlines and the pedophile rings will just keep on going. Nothing you can do about it. Hey, look at all these people that are going to storm Area 51. Isn't that very funny? LOL. Did you already forget about Epstein yet?
Actually, I want to point something out. I want to ask a question. So, do you believe that he was murdered, or that it's a body double thing and he got away like a Mexican drug lord?
Murdered.
Okay, I believe the murder thing too. And I believe that it was done because obviously he had info on somebody important who didn't want them to know that they've been going to the pedophile sex rings. Fun fact about human trafficking, Tad.
Oh, this is going to be a real fun fact.
Despite slavery being illegal for centuries, it's still one of the biggest industries in the world right now. It's just all under the table.
I hate this, Alex.
That's why he had billions of dollars. He was a billionaire. Did you know what he did? Well, you didn't know, but now you do. He was a fucking pedophile sex trafficker, and he had a fucking island full of little girls for billionaires to go and fuck.
Thank you, Alex.
There you go. That's how he made money. There's your fun fact. It's still a thing, and it's very big industry. Anyway, next
and this
question.
Has literally no impact on it. Yeah, let's go to the next one. Let's go to a real knee slapper for the next one.
You can't, billions of dollars. There's literally nothing you can do, Ted. Just accept the fact that billionaires will have all the power always. Next question. Chris Cook. Why do we struggle so hard with understanding death? Is it an evolutionary development to keep us from being depressed and killing ourselves? What do you think? So this is actually really interesting. So, death is a thing that literally everything that is sentient and alive fears. Everything that's conscious fears death. Everything, no matter what, inevitably dies. Even ideas and constructs eventually will pass. Even something that's big and made of stone, like the pyramids or these cool statues, eventually, even though it takes a few eons, will eventually decay from rainwater and shit. Everything reduces to dust eventually. That's kind of what the world does. The world is in a constant state of recycling shit. But nothing ever goes away. Let me explain. You can't just Thanos snap and they're just poof, gone. With something that dies, decays, and turns into another form of energy. Whether you rot and get eaten by bugs in the ground and turn into fucking dirt, or you're burned and turned to ash, you're not deleted like a file. You're just ash now. You've been transformed into this. You're always still around.
It's like with a paint canvas. There's a picture on it, and then someone takes a big slab of white paint, covers it, and then paints a new picture on it.
Yeah, the painting is still underneath there, So with death is something that we all fear. I fear death too. Not so much death. I fear more of time. Where it's everything that I say my room's covered in all my little weeb shit right now. All of this stuff is going to be completely irrelevant and forgotten in 100 years. And it's such a weird thing to think of. Because I think of characters say Heracles, the greatest hero ever. We remember him 4,000 years after his stories were told. But anyone gonna fucking remember Mickey or Mario in a 1,000 years? Maybe them, anybody else?
I think Superman probably.
But how many of the characters that we know and we attach ourselves to, all you people with your profile pics, how many of these characters do you think are really going to be relevant in an eon? And it's really hard to think because you can't comprehend 1,000 fucking years. Me and you, we're in our 20s. We can't comprehend that much fucking time. We can read history books of things we can read history books of fucking Romans playing Fortnite, but we can never fucking really understand what they went through, what they were thinking of, all the little things like that. All we really have are like bits and scraps and our own interpretations of and ideas. And I think another great way to experience, to really think just how weird time is Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great died, I think, like right before he was 30. I think he was like 28 or 29, right? He was pretty, well, I guess that's pretty good for the ancient times, but like, you know, he was relatively young. And this was a big deal when he died because we don't know where his body is. It's gone. You'd think that they would have kept that somewhere nice and safe because of how important he was. But time's a bitch. Nobody kept any records. Like, they might have remembered back then where they buried him. A few hundred years later, no, we don't keep memories when we make kids. Like, we're not like insects where we keep adaptations. We have to be told things. So, like, he's just, poof, Thanos, poof, gone. He's probably just in some place somewhere.
It's like how in my town they buried all the radiation and then just forgot where they put it. And that was only like 40 years, I think.
Mm-hmm.
They found one in the river, one underneath the high school football stadium, and then another one is still unknown.
Yeah. And so I think the thing with death is that I know in Mexican culture, they actually embrace death, relatively speaking, they embrace it. I know many people know it like Day of the Dead, or it's called like de las Muertes or something.
Dia de los Muertos or something. I'm not a Mexican scientist here.
We're at Spanish. Forgive us if we butchered that. But the whole point of Day of the Dead is that like you celebrate those who are gone and remember them. And those who are forgotten are, because like that's their afterlife. If you remember them and honor them, they are put in the land that they're remembered. But those who are in unmarked graves who are just forgotten in time are stuffed in the horrible land of the forgotten. And I think that's a really interesting take on death, because that's probably the most accurate way of death I've ever heard, because things will just poof, gone, and if you don't remember them. And so another thing that I learned about Mexican culture is there's this museum of death in Mexico, where it's all about different types of like histories of burials, and also it was about teaching people to plan for the inevitable. And I think that's really interesting because no matter what, you are going to die. You can live 100 or so years with good health and shit, but you're still going to die. You can't escape death. Whether it's old age or like fucking a bus hitting you, you will inevitably cease.
Naturally, yes. That's when you get into like the crazy cyberpunk shit where it's like uploading your consciousness to stuff.
Well, we're a little out of that. We're a little out of that now. I'm sure when that technology is finalized, it'll be only for rich people who sex traffic little girls on islands, and not for me and you, Tad. The point is, I want to be in the brain cloud. I want to be in the brain cloud with the pedophiles. I want to be anime girls.
I want to be where the rich people are, up in the brain cloud pedophile ring.
Or it'll be like that one fucking movie where like all the rich people live on that space station, and all the poor people live on the trash heap Earth.
Are you talking about the Jetsons cartoon?
No, but it was this movie I remember. I only remember the movie because of Shaky Cam. The movie's plot is that all the rich people live on this paradise, like La La Land, in this big, massive space station that orbits Earth, and all the dirty, poor people live on Earth, and it's like covered in garbage and pollution. And what I like about it is that it's not the movie, because I didn't see the movie, but they're showing a Shaky Cam, how it works, and they're showing like the director smacking the camera as they were filming.
Just bam.
He was like, he has his hand like under it, just smacking it up and down.
Jesus.
I thought that was so fucking funny because it made me remember like, yeah, these are all movies made by people. So now I always just, whenever I'm seeing a shot of a movie, I just think of like the camera people just like fucking around, like standing there sipping like sodas and shit.
Yeah, it's great.
That pulled me out of every movie ever. But anyway, back to death. So like, I would
back
say
back
to dying. Fearing death is going to be natural because you don't know what it is. Not a lot of people can tell you what death is because, like, well, you ever met a dead person who could hold a conversation? Have you ever met a dead person that can hold a conversation?
I have,
but the point is that yes, it's scary, but you actually told me something when I was going through a little existential crisis. You told me it can't be that bad because you don't feel anything. So you can't feel bad when you're dead.
So the way that we feel things is that our brain has a bunch of chemical reactions that go off when our senses are triggered. When you're dead, those senses don't work anymore. You are unable to touch, taste, feel, hear, see, smell. You're unable to do any of those. You're also most likely unable to think, which means you won't be able to actually... The thing that's spooky about death is, like, remember that Futurama episode where Bender was in space and then it turned into Bionicle?
Yes.
Basically like that. Like, that's something that is... humans are a social creature, so that kind of isolation, sensory deprivation is very spooky because we rely on all of our senses and we rely on our minds and other people to keep us sane and keep us moving, and that's what we do. So death is kind of like, oh, I won't have any of these, and there's no way to find out what death is like because no one's come back from being dead besides Jesus, and he made a whole book about it.
And people who get resuscitated aren't, like, really dead, but they remember just being... Okay, so, like, they're not conscious, so, like, when you die, in air quotes, and get resuscitated, it's just kind of like an instantaneous, because your brain wasn't working. You were literally turned off like a fucking computer, like a robot. You were just off. So you don't know anything of what happened when you were, finger quotes, dead. And that only makes it even scarier because it just feels like nothing, right?
Yeah. And I mean, that's the whole existentialism, existential dread, all that shit. There's nothing you can do to try and alleviate it. There's really not, other than religion and just not thinking about it, bro. Or trying to rationalize it as, I probably just won't be able to feel anything, so I don't need to worry about it. Nothing you can do about it.
There's one last line I want to say before I end it, and that is a line from York in League of Legends, actually, that I really like his voice. No, I actually really like his line. Where shut up, asshole, it's a good line. He says, we are dead much longer than we are alive. And that actually makes me think, because he's right. Because me and you, or like, say we live for, like, again, unless we get hit by a bus or something, like, we will live for maybe a good 100 if we're, like, healthy, maybe, like, 80 if we're not. But then we're gonna be dead for the rest of time. Literally, the rest of the universe existing, we will now not exist for.
Yeah,
something to keep in mind for. So, get a good coffin. Get comfy.
Did you know you only rent graveyard spaces, and after so many years, they chuck your body somewhere?
That makes a lot of sense, actually. Yeah,
okay.
I would.
All right, Alex. Now we've been having fun here. We've been having fun talking about child pedophile rings and death. So I'm gonna finish this off with my last question. I'm gonna make it a little bit more serious now. This question is from Lickzim the Great, and also the same question was asked by one of my bosses at work who went to school for like 6 years. What is the PSI of a fart?
Based.
Pressure in your butthole can only go up to about 4 PSI, right? Because your butt's not designed, like, you know how you inflate a balloon? You're not designed to do that. If you get any higher than 4 PSI and you end up like that video of the guy who put a fleshlight in his truck.
What?
Haven't you ever seen
the little video.
Yeah, where it's like flapping all over. Yeah.
Yes, I know what you're talking about now.
Okay, so in my search to find the PSI of a fart, I did literally 3 hours of math.
Why?
Poop on average is about half a pound. We'll say it's a bit larger than normal and give it 400 grams of weight. Poop is also 25% material, 75% water, but 400 grams. You ate a bunch of White Castle. Like, that's pretty condensed. That's packed in there. So the speed of human poop is 2 centimeters a second. Elephants, by the way, are 3 times that speed. They poop really fast because they're prey animals, so they gotta move. So, a turd has a constant speed with no acceleration. We're just using that for the argument here. You're not squeezing real tight and getting it faster than 2 centimeters, okay? A toilet bowl is 15 inches from the rim where you sit to the floor. Half that to the bottom of the bowl, so it's about a distance of 19 centimeters. It takes 8 seconds to go from your butt to the rim. for the poop to hit the rim. All right, 8 seconds. That means it's 2.3 centimeters a second, or 4.5 feet per minute is your poop's velocity. Now, I'm treating feces logically as you would a bullet. So a bullet's energy is equal to the bullet weight times the square of the bullet velocity in feet per minute, divided by 450,437. So that's 400 grams times 4.5 squared, divided by 450,437. That means the energy measured in bullets, which is foot-pounds, is 0.018 foot-pounds. That is the amount of energy that a fart puts out. Or a shit, I guess I should say.
But hold on. Is the PSI affected by the shit itself? Because you can fart without pooping, Tad. Despite what Smash players will like to tell you, you can just fart. So wouldn't the shit get in the way? Because there's a physical object in your anus.
Well, I mean, you can't fart if the hole's covered by poops. You can't do both at the same time. You can fart right before it, but you literally can't fart while shitting.
But what if you have... oh god, fucking Christ, I hate you.
What if you got two buttholes?
No, I can't. Hold on, I have to laugh a second. Okay. But what if you have, like... You ever just shit really hard where you just kind of, like, propel it out, right? Like, you fart while shitting, you shart. What about that?
Well, with that, that's a whole different calculation, Alex.
Okay.
I literally, if you give me the size of the shart, I can calculate it for you.
But wait. Then what does the shit have to do with the fart then, if they're two different things?
All right. Listen up here, buddy. Okay. So.
Professional podcast,
I'm literally realizing right now, after I'm looking at 2 pages of notes, I never actually got the PSI of what a fart is. So you're just kind of out of luck, Lixim. Anyway, so now, Alex, listen up. All right, listen up. A standard household window is about 1/16 of an inch thick.
I like where this is going already.
Now, glass is technically a liquid because of its molecular structure, so it's fucking weird to calculate, but 3 foot per pounds is enough for some Mississippi mud to break it. So, we'll divide the feet in pounds by how much we poop out. So 3 foot per pounds divided by 0.018. Right?
Okay.
So that's how we find out how much to break a window. Now, to kill a man, according to the U.S. Army, it takes 50 foot per pounds. So, we'll take 50 divided by 0.018. 0.018, of course, being the foot per pounds of a fart. Now, here's the toilets. Now, toilets are a bit tricky because they are the natural enemy of poop. They've been fine-toned and, bred over hundreds of years to be the optimal receivers of our stool. A toilet can withstand... Now, I tried Googling really, really hard how bad you have to shoot a toilet to break it, so I couldn't find the answer, so I had to do some kind of messy math here. So, a standard toilet can withstand 453 kilograms of weight before breaking. To find the potential energy, we take the mass times acceleration due to gravity times the change in height. So the acceleration of gravity is, of course, as you know this, Alex, 9.807 meters per second squared. And the change in height, 1.5 feet from toilet to ground, so that's about 0.5 meters. So we take the mass, so 450,000 times 9.807 times 1, because there's no change in height. They're just on the shitter, and then they fall. They're not falling onto the shitter. So that is 6,659,100 joules, aka 4,911,500 foot per pounds.
Okay. But how much shit did my CSM reasonably need to take in order to destroy that toilet like he thought he would?
I'm going to tell you the exact amount. It takes 167 times the force of the average shit to break a window. It takes 2,777 times the force of an average shit to kill a man. And it takes 272,861,111 times the force of a shit to fucking obliterate a toilet.
Sounds like shit.
Now here's the thing, Alex. I had to do this math too. So I told you that an elephant poops 3 times as fast as a man, right?
So, just keep going. What?
So, okay. An elephant shits 150 kilograms a day, and they poop about 10 times a day. That's 15 kilograms per shit. Right?
Yeah.
So let's just do that math real quick here, Alex. It's just 1500 times. Oh, I'm not clicking my calculator. Hold on a second. 1500 times 6.9, because remember, 3 times the speed of a shit, which is actually 13.5, because we have to square it. Pay attention, Alex. This is going to be on the test.
But Ted,
This is going to be on the test. Divide it by 450,437. So the average speed of an elephant shitting is point. Oh no, I fucked that up.
Nice.
0.485 pounds per foot pounds, right?
Yes.
So let's go ahead and so it's 3. It's 3 to break a window. So let's divide that by 0.485. This is good radio. Okay. So for a human, it took 167 times the force of their shit to break a window. For an elephant, it takes 6.2 times, which they already take 10 shits in a day, so they could do that fucking easy peasy. Right? This is easy. Now to kill a man, that's 50. So 50 divided by 0.485. An elephant would have to shit 103 times a single shit from an elephant will kill a man. By that point, of course, I mean, naturally, we're doing math here. We're scientists. We're reasonable people. They probably just drown in shit, but that's fine. How much shit does an elephant need to do to break a toilet? Let's go ahead and go 4911500 divided by 0.485. This is good radio. Okay. So it took 272 million for an elephant. It takes, 272 million for a human. It takes 10 million times one elephant shit to destroy a toilet. I'm definitely 100% confident in my math, especially the last one where it takes millions of joules to break a toilet. I definitely didn't fuck that one up. Us poop scientists, or as we refer to ourselves in our community, coprocists, are experts in this field, and I do not accept constructive criticism.
Okay. But what the fuck is a PSI of a fart?
I don't know.
Nice.
So thanks for listening to this episode. Pretty good one. A lot of goofs, a lot of knee slappers, a lot of science, a lot of hard math. Tell your science teachers, let them know that you're smarter than them because you know how to break a toilet with a shit. You can send us questions via YouTube, iTunes. Oh wait, no, honestly, no, you can't. Hold on. Oh god, bros, it's all falling.
You send the questions on YouTube where I will read them, or you send them to the email to Tad. What's the email called, Tad?
It's let me tell you about That's let me tell you about with 3 T's at gmail.com.
Yes, where Tad will read those questions. So you can kind of power game them because I don't have access to the email and I don't feel like asking Tad to give me access, even though it'll take like not even 3 seconds. So you guys give me questions on the YouTube comments and you guys give all the shitty poop ones to Tad on the email.
The shitty poop doo-doo questions.
Yes.
So, as I was saying before, though, you can find the podcast on YouTube, iTunes, Google Play, Spotify. I found out that there's apparently a lot of people who are, like, taking the YouTube video and putting it into, like, YouTube to mp3.ru and downloading the audio files that way. You don't have to do that. Just get literally any podcast app and just search for the podcast. That's all you have to do. That's all you have to do. You don't have to download the YouTube file. Why do people do this? I say it at the end of every single episode.
Tad, how many people actually watch the entirety of a podcast?
I don't know. I'm too scared to check. We're going to think about what to do with the questions of the month stuff because it's so similar. If you're wondering about that, that's going to be a separate episode. It'll have a bunch of stuff about that in there. Thanks for watching. Keep sending us in more of your shitty, stupid questions.
And make sure you hit that bell or I'll kill myself.
God damn it.